This well, the water from here goes into the tank, goes to the top of the tank, that's right behind there. Okay. So this is the first one that was done. We have another one that's in the area. Where we start is basically what the start of the source of the supply. So we have two basic systems of the island. Water from here makes it all the way through Brick Hill, through Castle, into Charlestown. This is typically where we feed Four Seasons from. And then we have the other well fields that start from Fothergills, go up to Stony Hill and go back into Charlestown.
I want to commend Minister Brand. He's the waterman. He has really done an excellent job in terms of our water supply on the island. I don't think we can talk about sustainability without water.
This water is coming from 700 feet beneath the surface of the earth. I want to certainly thank my cabinet colleagues for their support. I also want to thank our water resource manager and our hard-working technical personnel, Clishon, and the entire team at our water department for their hard work that they have done over the last few years in particular. We at the Nevis Water Department is particularly pleased and delighted to be here at our desalination plant. When we think about global warming, this is a good example of what can be the end product of the necessary changes that we will need to make in our water infrastructure. We had a well in the area were down recently, and the added weight was placed on the desalination plant without any disruption to our supply in the areas.
How do you see this contributing to water security here in the island?
Most of our water is groundwater. And of course, that is affected by rainfall with the climate change situation that we're experiencing. And so we can't depend on that as much as we used to. Yes. And so this is an added piece to the arsenal in terms of water supply.
Christian, in terms of training, the technical aspect, were you satisfied with the level of training available to you and your team?
Yes, I am totally satisfied. We had a whole week of training with the guys from Osmoson. Very intense, because there's a lot of information that we need to, keep in.
From concept to realization, this desalination plant, the first of its kind on the island of Nevis, is evidence of what we mean when we say that we are growing Nevis together.
Building Nevis by Nevisans and for Nevisans.
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick.
So we're pleased this morning to be here at Nevlick, and we have Mr. Stapleton here with us, who is the man who deals with distribution. I just realized going up the Island Main Road from MEMS, going up that side, a lot of new poles have been planted, and sometimes people don't understand why. So I think those kinds of things, just to give us a better appreciation.
What we are responsible for is for taking the power from the generation plant to the end user. We had to upgrade some of the poles, and what we did, we brought some of the poles closer to the main road. We also upgraded the conductor and some of the insulators in that area. In recent times, we would have extended the Charlestown feeder so we could make a ring main with Gingerland feeder. So if the power goes anywhere along the line, let's say in Lamper Hill, we could quickly backfeed Gingerland feeder into Cox.
Gingerland and Cotton Ground feeders are the rural circuits, so they carry the most demand. Cotton Ground has grown exponentially over the years. We had reduced some of the load from the Charlestown 2 feeder, and that gave us the opportunity now to add some load to Charlestown 1. So we're able to provide a more balanced load demand throughout the island.
We just want to ask the general public, when they see our guys in the area, to just be cautious when you're working on the road. Hotline number is 662-5811.
Hi everyone, my name is Shalicia Glassford. I am a proud hospitality professional, and I started my educational journey over at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant on St. Kitts. I then went over to Switzerland, where I studied at the Cesarewitz Colleges and Washington State University, and just recently I completed my last certificate at the Le Roche Marbella, Spain campus. I'm so privileged and honored to have been able to study and work in so many different parts of the world. But one of the greatest joys that I have is to be able to hone that knowledge outside and bring it right here to my island, Nevis. being able to impact my knowledge, my expertise, and my education to my peers and my colleagues every day makes me feel very proud that I'm really contributing to our tourism product here on Nevis. Looking ahead, I see the future of Nevis and the future of my career evolving together in perfect harmony. I envision Nevis becoming a true luxury destination, and I believe that I would be able to advance Nevis together in that direction. There are so many different rewards that I gain every single day from building my life here on Nevis and my career here on Nevis. First of all, I have an opportunity every day to wake up passionately to do something that I love. Not only do I get to do something that I love, but I get to do that with other Nevisians, and we both love it together as we all try to serve our guests in the best way possible to help to advance our tourism product.
Hi, my name is Anthony Gager. I'm the Operations Manager at Trident Trust Nevis, formerly known as Morningstar Holdings, and I traveled abroad to study at the University of New Haven in Connecticut, where I attained my bachelor's degree in business management. I was always inspired by local business people, whether they were entrepreneurs, whether they were a part of an established company and they rise through the ranks of that company. And I always paid attention to their success over time. And I always challenged myself and always reminded myself that that could be me one day. Unique opportunities that exist in Nevis that may actually surprise others, I believe, are the amount of leadership opportunities that exist. Leadership often also comes in the form of taking initiative, offering solutions, and executing ideas within your community or within the company that you work for. We must remind ourselves that things are great now, but we're definitely going to get older at some point in time. So are your current habits contributing to the life you wish to live that would put you in a position to look after your family that you may have one day, or to look after your parents when that time comes? You don't need to leave Nevis to live meaningfully. You just need vision, discipline, and a willingness to adapt and grow.
Together a compilation of various projects done on this island over the last decade and a half. The idea is to showcase all that we've done in terms of our infrastructure, our business development, and the quality of life for our people. We welcome you home. Enjoy Nevis. This is your island. This is your home.
Good night, everyone. A pleasant good evening to each and every one of you. Welcome to tonight's Town Hall meeting. To begin, we're going to ask the Honorable Spencer Brand to lead us into a word of prayer. Could you kindly stand?
Good evening, everyone, and let us pray. Holy and most loving Father, we gather here tonight in this place to discuss matters that we feel are of national importance. We pray, O God, that in our discussion we will be cordial, respectful, and forthright. We pray, O God, that in everything we do here tonight would be to your honor and glory. We pray for those who may be on their way here, that they will get here safely and partake in this discussion. And, O Heavenly Father, we remember our brothers and sisters and colleagues in Jamaica who are at this moment facing a turbulent and terrible hurricane. We pray that you would protect them. We pray that you will allow them, O God, to go through this storm unscathed and arrive on the other side, giving you the praise and the glory. And Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather in this place as we celebrate your name as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Amen.
Kindly be seated. Good evening once again to all. This evening we are, good evening once again. I am your moderator for this evening, Weekly Daniel. This evening we are gathered here at a very significant town hall meeting to discuss the special sustainability zone and the proposed project for Nevis. I must say that prior to being here this evening, the Nevis Island Administration, primarily the Cabinet, had a number of consultations. On the 7th of October, they met with the St. Kitts Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce. On the 10th, they met with the opposition parliamentarians. On the 14th, church groups. On the 16th, hoteliers, taxi association, and the tourism personnel. On the 24th, we had a meeting with the police high command. And of course, tomorrow, if I can go on, if I can also borrow a slogan from the Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness, because we believe in that, tomorrow we'll have a special press conference which will deal exclusively again with the special sustainability zone and the proposed project. On the 30th, the Cabinet will also meet in the morning with the 6 farmers and in the evening with the construction companies and heavy equipment operators. To begin this evening's town hall meeting, we'll call on the Honorable Premier to give brief remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It appears that we've run out of chairs, and so I apologize for that. Perhaps we needed a larger room. But thank you all for coming and for making yourselves available for what we think is a very important exercise in democracy. There has been a tremendous level of chatter about this proposed project on the south coast of Nevis. As a government, we have taken the position that what we seek to do is to engage with our people, to consult, to share with you the information, to let you know where we are at this point and where we hope to go. We are hopeful that through this engagement and others that you've heard of, various stakeholder groups, that we will get from you an indication of your position, and that those positions garnered from you will help us as government in terms of shaping our response to the proposal that has come for the development of that part of Nevis. Now, I ought not to assume that you know who we are. So I'm Mark Brantley, the Premier of Nevis. On my immediate left is the Deputy Premier, the Honorable Eric Evelyn. On my immediate right is the Minister, the Honorable Minister Spencer Brand. He has responsibility for public works and other areas. on Minister Brand's right is the Honorable Troy Liburd. He has responsibility for education et al. And on Eric's left is the Honorable Janelle Nisbet, who is our Minister of Health. And then on the very far left is Madam Helen Lewis, who is our legal advisor. We apologize for the absence of our Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Stedman Truss, but he's not feeling well this evening, and so he can't be here. The format that we have been taking for these discussions is to show you a brief video. That video is a video produced not by us, but by the proposed developers, where they're telling you what it is they're proposing to do. And then we want to take you into a bit more detail in terms of a slideshow. The Honorable Spencer Brand will guide us through the slideshow when we get there. And then we get to what I think is a more important part of this engagement, which would really be the question and answer. So I hope that we have no objections to that approach. That is what we're hoping to do, to give you some information and then obviously to engage and to have your questions asked, and where possible that we can answer those questions. I want to reiterate at the very start of this meeting that we as a government have not signed any agreements. We have not concluded any arrangements. We have decided that the best approach on this is to consult first and then to have that consultation inform our position. I know that there's been a lot of chatter to the contrary, but I'm here to tell you that this would be an exercise in futility had we already signed off on something. So the purpose for us to be here is to hear from you. Whatever those views are, whatever those opinions may be, that is why we're here, and we hope, as the prayer suggests, that we can get through this evening in a cordial and respectful manner, respecting all views and all opinions, because every view and every opinion matters and is important. So thank you very much. We look forward to that engagement, and we will play that video, and then we will get into the slideshow, and as I say, Mr. Brand will handle that from here. Thank you very much.
Hello, fellow Nevisians and Ketitians. My name is Olivier Janssens, and I'm the founder of Destiny. I've been proud to call myself a Nevisian for almost a decade now, and in that time, I have come to see both the challenges and the immense opportunities of our island. Around the world, special economic zones have transformed entire nations. Dubai is perhaps the clearest example. What was once a small trading port is now a global hub of wealth, innovation, and opportunity. Europe has Monaco, and the Middle East has Dubai, but the Americas still lack their own equivalent. I believe Nevis can seize that role. The first country in the Caribbean to create a modern zone of this kind will not only uplift its people, but could become one of the wealthiest and most desirable regions in the world. When I looked at Nevis, I saw a place ready for transformation. The southern corridor of the island is today completely undeveloped and sadly in decline. Erosion eats away more land each year. Yet this very area, if properly managed, holds the potential to become the engine of Nevis's future. Today I would like to share with you what we have envisioned for this project and what Destiny can become, and how it will ultimately transform Nevis. What you have just seen is only the beginning, a glimpse of what destiny can bring. New opportunities, prosperity, and a brighter future for Nevis and its people. To bring this vision to life, we have partnered with Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, also known as SOM, which are one of the most respected architectural firms in the world. SOM has designed some of the most iconic projects on the planet, including the World Trade Center in New York, and they have delivered developments of this scale across every continent. Their experience ensures that destiny will be built to the highest international standards.
Nevis is this amazing tropical paradise. It's really unspoiled, and we want to preserve that feeling of remoteness, that this is an escape, and yet very connected to the earth. In the way that we've approached the master plan, we seek to derive all of our design decisions from the existing beauty of the site, from the topography, from the water, from the shape of the beach. We want to create an architecture that's in balance with nature. I always think that nature is the best designer. In this case, we have a site that's got, I think, close to 2 miles of beach along its edge. From the beachfront, there'll be an oceanfront promenade there. And then from that kind of promenade, we'll have a kind of fisherman's village, pedestrian and nature. And then stepping up gradually, a set of neighborhoods, which are very often surrounding lakes, which we'll shape based on the existing landforms that we'll see. So when you see destiny from the boat as you approach, you immediately take away that this place was designed with nature first. To me, that's poetry, and that's the poetry of engineering. It's great for the planet, it's great for the economy. In developing the master plan, we're drawing upon our experience in other projects globally to be aspirational, but also practical. We've engaged with the local experts who really understand the ecosystem of Nevis, as well as international experts. We intentionally are designing for families, we're designing for young professionals, because we want that diversity of a community as part of the just overall character of the place. One of the founders of Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, my firm, said humankind will be judged by the marks that it makes on the earth. And I feel that responsibility when we do a project like Destiny. We have a responsibility to make people fall in love with this new place they're calling home.
Thank you, Scott. We will soon unveil our more detailed master plan, showing exactly how Destiny will take shape on the south side of Nevis. At the heart of Destiny is a deep respect for the nature and the rich natural beauty of Nevis. From the beginning, we made sure that our plan will leave ample green space. This is not a project of endless high-rises. Everything will be low-rise, and it will be carefully integrated with landscape and surrounded by greenery. We envision tree-lined neighborhoods, open parks, and natural spaces that allow both residents and visitors to feel connected to the island's beauty. We even plan a professional golf course, while still preserving wide open natural spaces for everyone to enjoy. Destiny is designed first and foremost as a safe family resort community, a place where people can live permanently with their families. In fact, we plan to make Destiny one of the safest places in the world. It will be family-oriented and family-friendly, with neighborhoods, green spaces, and amenities built for everyday life, not just for short visits. Destiny is about families living, growing, and thriving together. We are also conducting a full environmental impact assessment to ensure that Destiny is developed responsibly and sustainably. To guide us in this process, we're working closely with respected environmental experts, including Dr. Deborah Brosnan, who is internationally recognized for her work in marine and coastal resilience and is very familiar with Nevis. Dr. Brosnan will now share a few words about the project.
Everything that happens on Nevis is completely tied and aligned to the natural ecosystem. We know that our future is changing, so we have to plan and build for the future, and that's what Destiny is looking to do. And Destiny recognizes that nature is our ally. And when you align with nature, what you do is you create resilience. Nature provides that resilience. Destiny's plan is to understand how are we getting resilience from nature, and then to restore that resilience. The coral reef provides the sand, but it also provides habitat and fisheries. So what Destiny is doing will be building and recreating reefs as part of the natural infrastructure along the coast. We will be restoring those reef structures that provide habitat to so many species, that provide fisheries, a great and beautiful place to snorkel, fantastic education site. We're also creating new jobs in this area because you're creating stewardship jobs. You're contributing to the local fisheries. You're also cutting down on cost because restoration is far cheaper than engineered solutions. Nature is the foundation of the economy. The people of Nevis have been living here for centuries. They have an amazing traditional knowledge. You're marrying that with future science. What you create is a local workforce that has the skills that don't exist here today. And what you can create is a much stronger community. And the strength of that is phenomenal in terms of creating empowerment to make decisions about nature. Destiny's plan and what Destiny will do is to restore this ecosystem so that it is functioning properly. The native species are back, the reefs are doing their job for fisheries, biodiversity, and we're protecting it. So when you come back here in 10 years' time, you won't recognize this place because the native species will be here, because we'll have better protection for the reefs. And hopefully you will have your snorkeling gear and you'll go out and see it.
Thank you, Dr. Brosnan. Now, you may be asking, it all sounds exciting, but what does it actually mean for Nevisians and Kittitians? Destiny will deliver tangible benefits. Thousands of jobs, both immediately and long-term. Jobs during construction and in permanent sectors like hospitality, services, and technology. The Nevis government has additionally mandated that Nevisians and residents be given first preference for all jobs. The same will apply for all Kittitians. Additionally, we will be investing $10 million a year over the next 5 years for a total of $50 million into Nevis infrastructure. This includes millions in funding for the Alexandra Hospital and healthcare centers. The remaining funds will go to other critical projects agreed on with the Nevis government. We will help to ensure these projects are delivered to the highest standards. And because Destiny is part of Nevis, we also want Nevis to share in its success. Therefore, we are very excited to announce that Nevis will get a permanent 20% profit share in Destiny, so that we will all grow together. 10% will go directly to the government, and an additional 10% will go into a sovereign wealth fund, which will generate long-term returns for future generations and will be used to support Nevis and Nevisians in many ways. And because investing in people is just as important, I am proud to announce a $1 million yearly scholarship program for Nevisians to study abroad. This begins immediately and will continue every year moving forward. And last but not least, in the world's first, and this is truly historic, Destiny is announcing today that we will be sharing an additional 5% of our profits directly with you, which means you all get to take part in its success. This profit share will be paid out to you directly and through technology, which we will create early next year. To make sure you stay informed about this initiative and benefit as soon as it is available, you can go to destiny.com today to sign up. Finally, I want to make a direct appeal to every Nevisian and Kittitian who wishes to contribute to Destiny. We will need thousands of hands and minds to bring this vision to life. If you are looking for work, or if you own a company that can provide services, from construction to hospitality, logistics to creative industries, we want to hear from you. Please visit destiny.com and go to the job section to submit your application or proposal. Whether you are an individual seeking new opportunities or a business ready to grow with us, Destiny welcomes you. This is a call for everyone who wants to be part of building something truly historic. Before I close, I also want to address a few common concerns directly. If you own land in the area and you do not want to sell your lands, you don't have to. Selling is voluntary and always will be. And for those who are open to sell but want to keep owning land in Nevis, we are happy to offer land swaps for a different area. We know land is very precious and we fully respect that. Also, Destiny is not a separate country. The Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis fully applies. And while the zone will have its own internal regulations to attract investment and be safe and secure, we remain bound by the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. In regards to access, Destiny will always remain open and welcoming. Anyone is free to visit Destiny at any time. All beaches in Nevis, including those within Destiny, will remain open to the public. And traditional activities, such as fishing, will continue, just as they do today. In closing, I want you to know that Destiny is more than a development. It is a promise, a lasting partnership. It is an opportunity to create jobs, protect our nature, invest in our future, and place Nevis on the global stage where it belongs. But most of all, Destiny is about you, about Nevisians, Kittitians, and international families living, growing, and thriving together on our beautiful island. For centuries, Nevis has been known as the Queen of the Caribbean. With Destiny, we now have the chance to make her a jewel of the world. And the most powerful part is this: Destiny is not just ours to build, it is yours to share in. Every step forward we take, every success we achieve, will also be your success. Together, we can create something historic. Together, we can show the world what a small island with a big vision can accomplish. And together, we will make Nevis not only a jewel of the Caribbean, but a shining example for generations to come. Thank you.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen, and it is indeed happy to see so many of you here tonight. I will take you through the slide presentation, and I would hope that you can hold your questions until we are done with the presentation. However, if you feel that you really need to interject and ask the question, then please go right ahead and do it. The presentation is in approximately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold.
The presentation is in 4 sections, and the first section, of course, would highlight the team credentials, the site plan and visualization, the environmental impact, and finally the economic impact. You would have heard earlier from Olivia Jensen, founder and investor, and Mr. Jensen is an individual who would have been involved in the IT management business. He would have also been involved with the Bitcoin industry since 2010, and he would have been a major investor in SpaceX and Tesla, and also an investor in X. I believe that was previously Twitter. So, and he would have been a citizen of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis for approximately 7 years, or more than 7 years. We have also as part of the project team. Graeme Brooks, who is the project lead, and he has a MA in History and Politics from Oxford University and an industry background in offshore professional service. He combines a deep understanding of political economy and jurisdiction with real-world experience in leadership and management. Yes?
Silence, please. You will get to ask your questions at the end of the slideshow, please. Please, please.
Okay, while I continue.
Please.
Please. No, you shouldn't forget. You have a good memory. Write it down. Write it down.
Yeah.
We have Mr. Stephen Craven, who is the Chief Financial Officer, and he has been qualified fellow of ICAEW for over 15 years. And he is with PricewaterhouseCoopers, who is, of course, an internationally known accounting firm. We have Miss Georgina Atkinson, who is the Chief Sales Officer, and Miss Atkinson has over 17 years in ultra-luxury real estate sales and marketing. She would have been involved with Knight Frank and Berkeley Group, which is a luxury investment group in New York, London, Dubai, and Singapore. We have Mr. Ben Hudson, who is the Chief Operations Officer and a seasoned real estate leader with over 28 years in master development and asset management across the United States, Southeast Asia, and the Gulf region. We have Professor Tom Bell, who is a civil and constitutional law expert, and he would have been involved with the Compton University in California for over 20 years. We have Professor Mark Beer, OBE, who is a judicial system and ADR expert, and he is the chief executive and registrar of the Dubai International Financial Center, and he would have been involved with a lot of those developments in Dubai. We have Professor Eric Luna, who is a criminal and constitutional law expert, and he would have been a constitutional and criminal law expert at the Arizona State University. We have Dr. Andreas Bogdana, I hope I get that name right, an expert with decades of practicing experience, and he would have been one of the individuals who have been consulting on this particular development. We have Dr. Dawn DiCato, who is is a Commonwealth law expert, and she would have been practicing law in England and Wales, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and of course throughout other Commonwealth territories. Now we have the project team, and the project team is led by SOM. I believe you would have heard the name before in the presentation by Olivier. And SOM, which is a company that was founded way back in 1936, and SOM stands for Skidmore, Owen, and Merrill, and they would have been involved in at least 1 in every 250 square feet built in the United States that was designed by SOM. So they are an international recognized architectural consulting firm. They would have been involved as well with the World Trade Center. This is a depiction of the Jeddah Coastal and Central Urban Master Plan. They would have done that. They would have done the Chicago Millennium Park Master Plan. So they have vast experience in these type of development. SOM have been associated with the
AIA, which is the American Institute of Architects, for over 25 years. They have over 10,000 projects in over 50 countries. And they have been around for 87 years in innovative designs. And they have over 2.2 thousand international design awards. The project team also include WSP, which is a globally recognized professional service firm, which is a civil engineering infrastructure firm, and they would have been around as well since 1959. We have RLD, Ryder Levitt Bucknell, and they are the firm that will be doing the cost estimating on this project. We have Marine Engineering Coastal Engineering firm, HR Wallingford, and they too would have been involved in marine engineering globally. We have Marina Projects, and Marina Projects was founded in 2002, and they would have been involved in significant marine projects globally. We have Deborah Brunson, who is an advisor, and Deborah Brunson and Associates is a global science and strategic firm that works with discerning clients. We have Krabitri Group, Inc., and they also have been involved in civil engineering work throughout similar projects such as these. This is a depiction of what the site plan would look like. It's somewhat an aerial view, and this would give you an idea as to what the outcome of the project would look like. These are some design principles that they are working with, and one of the design principles that they are working with is to design with nature. They also would be designing with one of the designing principles as a family-oriented neighborhood, and also they would be designing with resiliency in mind. And finally, they would be also be designing with flexibility, and flexibility basically gives you some alternative options when it comes to the site plan. This is what you would see as the existing land. Basically, you can see that the coast is eroding. You can see that there is virtually only vegetation in that site. This is the master plan, and the master plan is subdivided in 4 zones. We have zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 zones. This is an ocean view of what you would see if you were looking at the development from the ocean side. These are some depiction and architectural rendering of what the residential neighborhoods would look like. These are basically just some architectural rendering. So this would give you an idea as to what the buildings would look like. Now, let's go through the various neighborhood amenities. Sorry? In the first section, you will have certain amenities. You have a health facility, you have some shared amenities, you have some retail shops, and you have a hot springs. In the second zone, you will also have some clubhouses, you will have some cafe, you will also have some retail outlets along the coast. In the third zone, you will have some additional retail facilities. You would also have some shared amenities, some playgrounds, some clubhouse. In the fourth zone, you will have hotel resort. You will have green spaces, park, cricket field, clubhouse. In the fifth zone, you will have a marina. And I want to pause there on the marina for a moment. As you know, that Nevis is a circular island, and we do not really have any natural inland area for a marina. They will be creating a marina there in this area, and it will be in this zone. They are also proposing to have a number of hotels, 1 to 3 hotels in this area. In zone 6, they are also hoping to have some clubhouses and some stargazing pavilion and the likes. This is just another depiction of what some of the buildings would look like. This is the view from the ocean side. Now, let us look at the marina for a moment. The Destiny Marina and Coastline designed to be an active and vibrant edge between the land and the Caribbean Sea. As I said earlier, we do not have any natural inland area to construct any marina, so they will be hoping to create this as part of Destiny. You will have at the front an oceanarium and a research center. You will have a cafe and a restaurant. You will have a marina district hotel. You are hoping to have a yacht club, a marina offices, sailing club. They will also create a beach in this area and also a number of residences along the circumference of the marina area. These are depiction of what is expected. Now, the area, as we are all aware, is on the side of Nevis that is heavily impacted by the ocean. And we are expecting that Destiny will do a number of things in this area. One of the things that they are hoping to do is to do some reef restoration. Because if they do not do the reef restoration, then the coastline will definitely be destroyed by the wave action. They are hoping that they will be able to restore some 4.5 miles of coastline and beach restorations. They are also expecting to capture a lot of the water that comes down in the gut areas, capture it and process it. The next slide would show you exactly what it is that they are hoping to do. But the critical thing for them in this area is to do some coastal reef and ecological habitat restoration. Now, one of the things that we have insisted on is for them to be able to provide their own water. In essence, they will not necessarily be having any impact on our water infrastructure on the island of Nevis. They will provide a water treatment plant, and as you know, and those persons who know the area, we have some very large guts in the area. The aim is that the water from those guts will be captured, they will be treated, and they will use that water for their own purposes. Also, in terms of their energy, we expect that they will be able to provide a clean energy infrastructure by using what we call photovoltaic canopy And those would be able to be placed on buildings, those will be able to be placed in strategic areas to capture and ensure that there is renewable energy to power this development. We do not expect that they will be having any impact as well, or little impact on our energy infrastructure. However, because of the requirement of the energy, they are proposing that they would be able to partner with the Nevis Island administration to help develop our geothermal project. Because this is a development that they are proposing to be an environmentally friendly development, and the geothermal energy would be also beneficial to them. Resilience, we are expecting that they would be doing their architectural and engineering design to meet the necessary earthquake and hurricane standards. They, as you are aware right now, there is a Category 5 hurricane that is onslaught in Jamaica. We are expecting that their design would be able to withstand those type of weather phenomenon. They would be able to withstand our periodic earthquakes and hurricanes as well. And they are designing to the Miami-Dade Code, and of course they will have to design to our OECS building codes, St. Kitts and Nevis building codes. All of those would have to be taken into consideration. We now go to the economic impact, and they are proposing that the economic impact will be threefold: direct, indirect, and induced economic impact. The total economic impact of the proposed development between 2026 and 2036 for the island of Nevis is proposed to be approximately $34 billion. For the island of St. Kitts, they are projecting that there will be an $18 billion on the island of St. Kitts, with a total of $52 billion total economic output within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. For total GDP supported for the island of Nevis, they are projecting 19 billion, for St. Kitts 11 billion, a total of 30 billion. For total job years supported, and I just wanted to highlight that this is projected between the period of 2026 to 2036, over a 10-year period. For the total job years supported for the island of Nevis, approximately 196,000. On St. Kitts, approximately 114,000, and giving a total of 310,000. Total taxes generated for the island of Nevis projected to be 1.7 billion, and on St. Kitts 0.8 billion, giving a total of 2.5 billion. The annual average economic impact of the period on the island of Nevis, they are projecting 3.1 billion. For the island of St. Kitts, 1.7 billion, giving a total of 4.7 billion, which is projected to be the total economic output under the period. For the total GDP supported for the island of Nevis, they are projecting that that will be 1.7 billion, and for the island of St. Kitts, $1 billion. Total jobs supported under the period, 17,900 for Nevis, and on the island of St. Kitts, they are projecting that it will be approximately just over 10,000. Total tax generated, 150 million for the island of Nevis, and approximately 75 million for the island of St. Kitts, giving a total of $225 billion. $million. The economic impact for the construction, according to the According to the plans provided by Destiny, total construction spending is expected to be approximately 23 billion, and the total economic output for the entire period would be about 40 billion, as well as contribution of 23 billion to the GDP of St. Kitts and Nevis. Economic impacts for residents spending in 2036, for a total, they are projecting approximately 680 million. And that is the total for St. Kitts and Nevis. For the total GDP supported, they are projecting 410 million. And for the total job supported, they are projecting 3,800. And for the total tax generated, they are projecting 29 million. The direct commitments, they have given a direct commitment to the Nevis Island administration over a 5-year period of 50 million. You would have heard that in the initial presentation by Mr. Jensen. 20% profit share for Nevis, $1 million annual scholarship fund, 5% share to locals, and obligations secured via lien on developers' property to enforce strong performance or KPIs. Coming to you. We can now entertain all of your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Brand. Now, before we start asking the question, rules of engagement. Yes, rules of engagement. I'm going to kindly ask you to be respectful and to be tolerant. No anger, no animus, nothing at all. And of course, no, please, no disrespect. It gets us nowhere. We will start with Dr. Daly. All right, we'll start with you.
Can I finish? Good evening. As the moderator indicated, my name is Kelvin Royston Daly, Dr. Kelvin Royston Daly, spelled D-A-L-Y, not D-A-L-L-Y. Let me first join in wishing our friends and family in Jamaica all the best. The storm is now advanced to 200 miles an hour. Yeah. Jamaica. Let me say first that I have lived in the United States for 15 years. 15 long years. Always made to feel that I did not belong. That the US was never my home. I have one home, Nevis. Nevis. And I never imagined that in my life that I will be faced with the possibility that I will become, in my lifetime, a minority on Nevis. That is serious business. So while we are here pontificating about all these wonderful projects and jobs, I would prefer to live in a hut as a free man than in a mansion as a slave.
Dr. Daly, please, questions, please.
You take it easy.
No, questions, please. We're here to answer questions, please.
I am going to ask a question, but I have to give you a prelude. Don't rush me.
No.
Don't rush me.
There are others who want to ask questions.
And they will have their time. You took up all this time with this slideshow. Nobody wanted.
Dr. Daly. Questions, please. Questions. That's why we are here.
Question.
Yes, please.
My questions are to my good friend Troy Liebert. All my questions are to you. Mr. Troy Liebert, you were once a student of mine at Sixth Form in Charleston. You were a member of the LIDC debating competition, and I was your coach. I have a question for you. 2 questions, 3 questions actually. Let me get my glasses. From 2013 to 2017, you, Mr. Liebert, was the Minister of Communications and Works, which includes oversight of the Department of Physical Planning. From 2017 to present, if you're too stupid to understand, just shut up.
Excuse me, listen, please. All right? If you're going to go there, be disrespectful, we're going to kindly ask you, please. Quickly, please. There are others who want to ask questions. Quickly, please.
Mr. Liebert,
quickly.
Do you understand or do you know the term libertarianism? Yes. I've heard it. You've heard it. One thing that was missing from the presentation this evening is any mention of who these people are. We know their bios and all that. But do you know that these people are libertarians? And do you know what the objectives are? I'm going to finish asking the question. Let's take notes. Yeah. What is their goal, these libertarians? I will leave you to answer that. My second question to you, Mr. Liebert. As a former Minister of Public Works, Communications and Works, do you support the exclusion of physical planning, essentially having it replaced by the Premier's hand-picked oversight body to monitor zone development? Please explain your answer to that. And my last question. As a member of the cabinet, Mr. Liebert, I assume you have had the opportunity to examine in detail the development agreement. Mr. Liebert, could you share with us your understanding of what is the penalty for the NIA to break the agreement and stop the development? The penalty has been referred to as a nuclear option, a mutually assured destruction. Are you, Mr. Liebert, in favor of this nuclear option being signed into law? The development agreement, Mr. Liebert, speaks to a population of 7,000 to 10,000 in the first instance. Deep concerns over voting rights have been expressed, to which the Premier has indicated his intention to take legislative action to change the Constitution, thereby denying their right to vote. Are you in agreement, Mr. Liebert, with any changes to the Constitution preventing any group of citizens their rights to vote? Thank you very much.
All right.
So Dr. Daly, you have addressed all of your questions to me, but of course, I wouldn't have all the answers to all of your questions. First of all, we do not know the full background of all of the persons who are the developers. These developers, of course, they were not born and bred here in Nevis, so we're not going to know the full background of all of them. Okay? Now, as for whether somebody is a libertarian or something else, I cannot answer that question. Okay? Of course, people have gone online to Google different things, and that's up to them. What we have in front of us is development. And what we have to do is to assess that development based on the merits of that development. We have to look at it as a cabinet that's here to look out for the best interests of the people of Nevis. And what we have to look for in any development is to ensure that the development is going to be good for the people of Nevis. So that is what we are here to do. As the Premier would have said in his opening remarks, we have not yet signed anything. We are not at that point yet, Dr. Daly. We are at the point where we are assessing the development. When we get to that point, then certainly all of the agencies who need to be involved will be involved. That is my best answer for you, Dr. Daly.
Anyone has anything else to add? Any member of cabinet has anything else to add?
I think you would have asked something about voting rights or some sort of change to the constitution. Physical planning. I think I just addressed that when I said that when we get to that point, you know, all of the necessary agencies that have to be involved will be involved when we get to that point. So in terms of what you said as it relates to voting rights and constitutional change and so on, we have not contemplated constitutional change. What is different with this project and any other project, based on the legislation that was passed federally for the SSC, is that for this particular zone to be approved, it has to first be approved in the Parliament in Nevis, the House of Assembly, and then also in the Parliament on St. Kitts. So there are discussions that are ongoing with the AG's office and with other agencies on St. Kitts, insofar as these voting rights are concerned.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me be very clear that there is no expectation or anticipation that anybody living in this zone will have the right to vote. This does not involve a constitutional amendment, because we vote by virtue of the legislation that deals with that, which I believe is the National Assembly Elections Act. What is proposed at this point is to have the necessary amendments done to the National Assembly Elections Act. And that act, if you're familiar with it, makes certain provisions as to who can vote, and the relevance of who can vote deals with who is registered and where they can be registered. This, and I want to step back a moment from this particular project. Whilst this project has sort of been a catalyst for a lot of public debate, St. Kitts and Nevis already has, by some tallies, well over 50,000 citizens who are economic citizens across the globe. And the truth is that until now, we have not tackled the question of whether or not those 50+ thousand people can vote in St. Kitts and Nevis. So the reality then is that on the existing understanding, those individuals have the same rights as you and I. Those individuals can at any point in time decide to descend on St. Kitts and Nevis, buy property, vote, do whatever else they would like to do as citizens. And so what has happened here, because this particular project is proposed, it has forced the federal government now, because voting is handled at that level, it is not a local NIA matter, to now contemplate what really ought to happen in relation to economic citizens broadly. What more specifically what is to happen in relation to zone residents if indeed such a zone were to be approved and were to happen on the island of Nevis or on the island of St. Kitts, because this legislation is federal in nature. So the intention is that these individuals will have no rights to vote, and what we need to do is fashion the necessary legislation to make that clear. There is one other provision, it hasn't been asked about, but let me just tell you now, that we had a concern about people who are in the zone being able to purchase land outside the zone. And we have also said emphatically that there could be no cross-pollination, so to speak. So if you're in the zone, you will not be allowed to purchase real estate outside the zone. The reason for that is we felt that if people were allowed to purchase real estate at large, then they could well drive up prices outside and make land outside less accessible to local people. And so those two are two very important aspects of what we have said in terms of control going forward. So I just wanted to add that the voting issue is not a constitutional amendment that is anticipated, but rather amendment to the relevant legislation that deals specifically with voting.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. I don't have the mic. Sir, we go by a show of hands. Someone has the mic here, please. Okay. A follow-up question, quickly.
No, but perhaps you didn't understand me. Perhaps you didn't understand the point I was trying to make. So it is not a question of whether other zones can be...
Mr. Premier, yeah. You have always told me that I do not understand you. Well, maybe you're misleading me, because you have said on your programs that anywhere in Nevis can be considered a zone. I was confused then because you said on your program that you did not have any land in the zone. So when you came back and you said that anywhere can be declared a zone, well, that didn't add up. I started thinking, well, anywhere could be declared a zone, but just not on your land. You know, I mean, these are things that come and go and we don't understand. And if we don't understand, we don't understand. When we ask questions, it's for us to understand so that we could make an informed decision.
I understand. You can help? Okay.
Good night.
Excuse me, in orderly manner, we are answering this question, please, and then you'll be given the opportunity. And we have, well, Javid, who had the mic before, please.
Let me see if I can help Mr. Manners. The special authorization zone create a framework for any individual, any developer, anybody to apply to either the Nevis Island administration or to the federal government to create a particular zone. There are, of course, certain requirements that they must meet, right? And once they are able to perhaps meet those requirements, then the government can make a determination if they would approve or support that particular request. So it is not necessarily fair to say that there can either be one zone, or if somebody is in this zone, they can have another zone somewhere, right? The legislation creates the framework for any zone to be created anywhere in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Javid, your question, please.
Hi, good night, everyone.
1, 2. Then it tells me that then these people can
You ask your question, Mr. Manners. We are trying to get everybody involved. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you, Mr. Manners.
Good night, everyone.
Exactly. Come on.
A special good night to the panel that we have up here right now for coming out and listening our issues that we have to hear. My name is Javid Pemberton. As Mr. Wakely said, my good ex-coach. My name is Javid Pemberton. I am a urban and regional planner. I don't have a doctorate yet like Mr. Daly, but hopefully someday I'll reach there. So as a urban planner, as an urban and regional planner, I don't get so uncomfortable. I don't have that discomfort when I see new development. I actually get excited. So please don't kill me for being excited when I see development. It's just a second nature in me as a planner. So I'm only here to find out certain questions like the implications and the implementations of the project. So I have just 6 questions. Yeah. Short questions. Very
Okay.
short questions.
All right. Keep it tight, please. Keep it tight.
Yeah. So Minister Brand mentioned how important in his prayer this is. Mr. Brand mentioned how important in his prayer this is as a matter of.
Excuse me, please. Respect the gentleman who is speaking. It is rude and it's going live worldwide. Please. Please.
So.
You will get your chance.
Mr. Daniel, let me try to command the room myself. All right? So, a matter of high national interest like this, right? We spoke earlier about constitution and laws and legislation, but I know that there is only 2 principal contexts in which something like a referendum can be done. And it's when you want to amend the constitution or if you want to secede from Sinkits, the 2 things. So taking that into consideration, have you ever thought of doing a referendum just to gauge public opinion on how the public feel about the whole project? Yeah. I find it funny because you guys clapping for me and I do not have the same sentiment as most people. I find it funny. But anyway, my next question is, do you think that $50 million over 5 years is enough to invest in our infrastructure, especially because we don't have an accurate dollar amount to what the 5% be and the 20% be? We don't have an exact figure to say we're going to get that other than the 50 million and the 1 million scholarship. We don't have an exact figure to work with because like 100% of 0 is how much? So yeah, so if we could get like a dollar amount to what we're working with, I would feel a lot more comfortable. I saw Minister Brand brought up some figures earlier. I think that's the first time I ever saw figures, so that made me feel a little better. In the video shown earlier, the guy, Mr. Jensen, spoke about a new technology to be created to distribute the funds. Do you know yet what kind of technology that is? The 4th question, well, when we find out, we find out. At what stage in the development will payments be done to the country and its citizens, and how frequent, like quarterly, annually? Just 2 more. In the SSC Act, it does not include a section that explicitly requires members or the managers of the zone authority or the zone management entity. It doesn't have any requirements for them to have any specific academic and professional requirements like environmental science, engineering, finance, urban planning, public administration. And I think that there should be qualified persons in those specialized fields to manage the authority for this zone's critical success. And the last, well, that was more of a comment than a question. Yeah. The last one is there a limited percentage of land in Nevis that can be turned into a SSZ or a number amount of how many different zones that it could be on the island? So basically, is there a cap on the total area in Nevis that will allow to be a special zone? Is there a cap on that? And at the same time, my train of thought rolled me to a cap on the amount of people. I think they had 11,000 something people there. Is that a cap? Is that's where they're starting from? That's my questions. And see how I command the room very easily? Good night, everyone.
Thank you. To the mic. Wait. What's the mic? Yeah. We'll answer these questions. And folks, before we answer the questions, going forward, because I understand that there's so many of you who have questions that you need to ask, we are going to limit it to 2 questions per person. And if we come back around, right, then you'll get a second chance. But for now, 2 questions, please, per person. We have a lot of questions that persons want to ask. So please, go right ahead, please. Yeah.
Good evening, all. I just want to take 2 of the questions from you, Mr. Stapleton. You did ask about the $50 million. And of course, this is a consultation, and so we are welcoming suggestions from you and members of the public. Of course, we showed what they have decided to give on the screen. But if you're thinking that $50 million is not enough, and you think that we should go back and renegotiate, we are, of course, open to suggestions. So if you have a figure in mind, we are open to hearing that figure that you think that we should accept. In terms of, you asked about a cap, the last question you asked about a cap, there is no cap in terms of the population. I know the presentation made reference to 7,000 to 10,000 people. The bill or the act from Parliament doesn't specify any cap for the population, and the bill does not specify any cap in terms of the number of acres either. It does not also specify any cap in terms of the number of zones that can be applied in Nevis or in St. Kitts.
Hello? Hey, yes. So I think it's very important for the security of Nevisians that a cap be placed somewhere for those 2 specific things, just for the security of Nevisians and their lands. And
a cap in terms of what, the population or the acreage?
A cap, both. I think both. That's what I think, and this is my opinion. I'm just looking out for how this project can come and Nevis' security. That's what I'm looking out for at the end.
Thank you, Javed. Thank you very much.
The other questions?
Other questions?
No, there were some other questions we needed to answer. So you asked a question about referendum, Javed, and it's a popular idea, but very little gets done in any country that is governed by way of referendum. You see, when you ask the question, there was applause in some quarters. There were groans in other quarters. I feel that where you have issues such as this, where you have proposals such as this, then part of what we're doing is to engage as we're doing, to consult as we're doing. To say that we will say yea or nay to a development or any project for that matter by going to a referendum takes us into a particular methodology of governance, which personally I feel will end up meaning paralysis in terms of the country moving forward. Now, I hear some chatter in the crowd
And I will just say this, that our democracy is set up in a particular way. We have something called an election. Those happen at periodic intervals. And an election, generally, is where the people determine whether they have agreed with the government or they want a change in direction. That's why we have elections. And so to have, please, can I finish the comment? Can I finish the comment? Our constitutional construct currently, as you rightly pointed out, Javid, really only speaks to referenda in specific situations. So for us to now go down a road where we say, okay, a proposal has come, let's put that to referendum. Okay, geothermal. How do we determine what decisions go to referendum and what do not?
Don't get 66% that we ain't going to do the project, just for data
Okay,
collection.
well,
And to know how the public generally feels, I think that's the most accurate thing to do.
Right. So there are various ways, I think, to gather public opinion. There's polling, there's all of that. Referenda normally would happen when there's a decision to be made. So referenda would normally, yes or no. Do we legalize marijuana? Yes or no? Do we go this direction? Yes or no? That generally is what a referendum seeks to do. And all I'm saying is, to govern by referendum can lead to paralysis. Because what the Caribbean has shown whenever referenda have been engaged in, the referendum tends to fall along political lines. That tends to be the case. And so that's why governments are elected. Governments are elected to govern. All right.
Good night. My name is Lauren Pemberton. I have two questions. The first is in backing up to your referendum comment. I think that when you talked about this first, you talked about this being an ultimate game changer for Nevis. And obviously, I think that you would be remiss if you didn't say that this is probably the most sensitive matter that is being discussed in Nevis right now, or has come in our entire generation. We're giving away 2,400 acres of land. So I have a question. I do not agree with the SSC Act. I do not agree with Destiny SSC. What I would like to know is, what would it take for you to accept that the people of Nevis do not want either? So is it us getting 51% of the voters' cards and people registering that they do not want it? Is it 51% of the census population? What would it take for you to accept that the people don't want it? My second question is, have you been approached by another entity to establish another SSZ? And I clarified it to say an entity that came to you prior to the act, had discussions with you, and then came back after the act was established. Is there a history of that?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the questions. I'm always a little concerned when individuals stand up and talk for the people. I feel that we should speak for ourselves, because I speak to people every day, and the people that I speak to every day aren't necessarily saying the things that some other people are saying. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, people have different viewpoints on matters. So I would just urge that when we speak for ourselves. And we give our opinions, whatever those opinions are. So can I
excuse
finish,
me,
please?
you asked the question, he's answering. Let him answer, please. Lauren, please.
I am simply saying that it is a little presumptuous of us when we talk about what the people want. And so, please, I listen to you. I'm trying to respond. So, the so, okay. So let me just say that insofar as public engagement and public discussion is concerned, the project or no project is a matter for the government. That is why governments are elected. That is why we listen. Hello. Let me respond. I am prepared, ladies and gentlemen, I am prepared to say to you this evening that no government anywhere in the world will ever, certainly no democratic government, will ever have the support of everyone. And governments must lead. That's why they're elected. They must consult, they must listen, but ultimately they have to lead. They have to make decisions. In the great United States right now, America voted for a president. Some like it, some don't like it. What must he do? He must not govern because some people don't like his ideas? That is why we live in something called democracy. Now, if you prefer another system of government, then you can perhaps agitate for that. But in this system of government that we have, there is, again, something called an election. That is where Tut Mun Saman Bagai makes their decision as to who. And there have been governments in Nevis in the past that I have not agreed with, but they had a right to govern because that's who the people said they want there. That's democracy. So we can't have it both ways. Now, in relation to this other entity, absolutely. We have had an approach from at least two entities who have come forward. We have not engaged with them other than to hear what they have to say. But two other entities have said that they would have an interest in establishing a special zone on Nevis. And I think that brings us to the point, Javid, that is so critical of carrying capacity. Like, what do we do in terms of these various applications that may come? And I think that the answer to that is really provided by what Minister Brand said. Ultimately, it is for government to decide whether we have one, whether we have none, or whether we have 100. It is ultimately for the government to decide that. And so the legislation currently doesn't have, as Minister Evelyn pointed out, any particular provision. But that is why, again, government has that flexibility. It is for government. So that is the current situation in terms of where it stands.
I just wanted to add to the question from Ms. Pemberton. I believe she had left. I just wanted to say to Ms. Pemberton that the provision of this SSD Act provides that for any such application to be approved, it must go, if it's taking place in the island of Nevis, it must go to Parliament. It must be approved and ratified in Parliament. It also must go to the federal parliament for ratification. So I believe that there are checks and balances, there are some protective guardrails that are in place, that if it is that the government of the day said that they are interested in such a zone, and when you get to Parliament, Parliament give a different position on the matter, it dies in the Parliament.
I want to add, I know people are waiting, so let me be quick. I want to just add this to what Spencer said. You know, we have had this debate that has been raging in terms of zones and all of that. But I will say this is the first time in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis that any development agreement has to be made public. The very first time. We have lived in this country for 35 years with the Four Seasons. None of us have seen the Four Seasons Agreement. Christopher Harbour, Marriott, Park Hyatt, none of us have seen those agreements. By law, ladies and gentlemen, by law, this is the first time that an agreement has to be made public. It has to go to the Parliament. You and anybody else who's interested must see it. So I think that as we talk about transparency, we talk about openness. This is the very first time that by law, this is being mandated. No zone can be created unless this goes through a parliamentary process. And I just wanted to make that point.
Okay, we have the young chap here in blue. Yes, ask your question.
Good night, everyone. My name is Jolie France, and I have a question. So, if the requirements are not met to fulfill this project, including the budget going overboard and the reefs not restored, do you have a plan B, and what is your solution? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the question, young Mackie. It's good to see you. The question of is if there's a plan B, what the agreement is seeking to do is to build in penalties and performance damages and that kind of thing. So we are definitely trying to work through those types of issues. What happens if after a year these developers say, you know what, we aren't interested in bothering with this project? What happens in those circumstances? We have a lot of examples on the island of projects that started and have not finished. So how do you deal with that? And so one of the things that we're seeking to do is to learn from those experiences where there were no controls in place. There were no penalties, there were no anything. And so now to say to these developers, listen, if, as you say, you don't do what you're supposed to do, what are the consequences of that? So that's part of the negotiations that we're involved in now. But that's an excellent question that you've asked, and I'm happy to see someone so young asking such an excellent question. Thank you.
Yes, okay. We'll have the gentleman here, and then we'll have the pastor there at the back. I'll come to you, don't worry.
Hello.
And then,
hello, good night. I don't have two questions, but I have three crucial insights that I would like to share with you, if it's possible, in this scenario. So, my first insight is a warning, because without the solid water infrastructure in sync with physical development and planning activities, this amazing project is only a dream. Why is that? Because water security on the climate change is not an option, it's fundamental. The 2021 St. Kitts and Nevis climate summary from the Caribbean Institute of Hydrology and Meteorology gives us a clear evidence. By 2030, the extreme heat will increase 15 times over historical records. The hot season could become almost year-round, and rainfalls will decrease overall, yet storms will continue, will grow more strong, amplifying both flash flood and more frequent and severe meteorological droughts. This is fundamental to understand the risk under which our island is right now, and the water stress on the climate change is imminent throughout 2100. So this is a first warning, and I want to emphasize something important here in regards to water stress. I want to make a rough diagnosis of this water stress utilizing factual statistics. According to FAO and UNESCO, and in the 2014 water footprint assessment, St. Kitts and Nevis is endowed with 444 cubic meters of fresh water per capita per year. And by contrast, NIA statistical report in 2020 average consumptions of 144 cubic meters per capita per year for the decade between 2009 and 2019. And statistics in St. Kitts shows average of 252, totaling 396 cubic meters of fresh water per capita per year, almost our entire renewable capacity consumed according to this freshwater budget. So this is under this leaving a little room for the ecosystems. So I want to support myself with my readings, my writing. Sorry. Three key points here. Three key points here to take into consideration. The renewable fresh water depends on rainfall to recharge perch and on confined aquifers. And these file figures relies on historical records that may be no longer a reliable source under climate change. And the population considered for this consumption, for these figures, is 12,227.
Could you speed it up, please? Speed it up. Yeah,
12
speed it up, please.
12,000, well, 38,400, in total, 34,918 inhabitants. Yes, sir?
Yes, sir. Questions, please. Please.
Well, my question is, if Nevis is Nevis prepared for Destiny, or will be Destiny the catalyst to prepare Nevis?
Okay, thank you.
So, but here is the thing. I think Nevis is not yet prepared for a project of Destiny's scale. But through Destiny, we can become prepared. Because it's really tedious to attract funds from international organizations to provide solutions to address the water scarcity in any small island developing states. And the only solution to address that is through a solid water master plan with a hybrid portfolio of solutions, including water harvesting.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. The mic, please. The mic. Yes, Pastor. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Yeah, my name is Pastor Wayne Maynard, and I am happy for the opportunity to be able to ask questions pertaining to this very impactful project. Now, as I understand it, this project has materialized based on the acquisition, of course, of significant acreage, which would tend to mean that that property is private because it's privately owned. So one of my main questions pertaining to this project is in relation to the issue of access. And so because, again, such significant acreage has been acquired, will law enforcement, will regulatory bodies, social services have the same access to this zone as they do any other area in the island of Nevis? And will we as residents have access to this zone? I know, Mr. Premier, you mentioned that one of the justifications for not implementing a South Coast road would have been, well, why would the government invest such significant funding when the investors do it? But if the investors do it, then would we have residents would have access to that road in the same way if the government were to do it? And so the question of access is really a huge question given that the acreage is so wide. And then can things happen in that zone? Because again, it's private land that would violate our laws, that because of the significant area that we don't want to have the access, or even our law enforcement and other bodies of regulatory nature, can they then determine that laws are being violated? Because again, it is, if I understand it correctly, private land. The second question that I have is in relation to recurring revenue generation. If I understand it, this area is being considered a tax-free zone. So how is recurring revenue to be acquired by the government if it is a tax-free zone? I understand that there would be spin-offs due to, of course, arrivals. We have a larger population, whether it is access to our airports and, of course, economic spin-offs. But what is the main source of recurring revenue that the government is expecting to be able to have to make this economically viable? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Premier.
Pastor Maynard, thank you very much for your questions. The short answer to access is yes. That was one of the first points that we discussed with these proposed developers. The model that we have been discussing is really akin to the Four Seasons. You and I have access to the Four Seasons, but we recognize that there are security protocols and controls at the Four Seasons for our access. So we can decide to have a drink at the Four Seasons after this, but we will be having to go through security in order to get there into that particular resort. So that's sort of the model that we anticipate, although we did say to them that we prefer that they use technology rather than having physical barriers like the Four Seasons does. The question of revenue generation, Pastor Maynard, this is an ongoing discussion that we've been having, because naturally we want to know how the island is going to benefit long term from this. The developers have made certain proposals to us in terms of revenue. You heard of this $50 million number. We are discussing with them joint development of the Long Point Port, which clearly would be a further investment. We are discussing with them the development of the hospital. The contemplation is that hospital development will be part of that $50 million. But the question really about if you're not paying taxes, then how is the economy going to benefit generally? And the view that certainly has been advanced by them, and the position supported by some studies done by Oxford Economics, is that the benefit to Nevis, the benefits to Nevis, and by extension, the benefits to the revenue, tax revenue that is really having to do with the activity in the economy, the wider economy. So spending, arrivals, taxes, small businesses, supermarkets, you name it. That the idea is that because the overall economy is going to develop, this becomes the catalyst for that, then revenue for the government grows accordingly. So that really is the analysis at this point. Of course, as I said, it is still a matter that is under active discussion, but the developers were very clear that insofar as they were concerned, they did not want any tax implications within the zone. Now, the first blush is to look at that and say, well, you know, that's a little abhorrent. You know, why should you not pay tax? But the response that has come is that these developers are being required by law to put in all of their infrastructure. So we heard water mentioned, and we thank the gentleman who made his comments in relation to water. They have, under the SSD legislation, to generate their own water. They have to generate their own electricity. They have to generate and handle their own waste. So the idea really was to say to them, listen, instead of asking us, I don't want to pick on the Four Seasons, but when the Four Seasons came, for example, we still supply the Four Seasons with electricity. We still supply them with water. That's coming from the island. The island has to invest in that infrastructure so that Four Seasons can get that benefit. We said to them, we cannot afford to do that, and we don't want to do that, so you must invest in your own infrastructure. So put differently, we are not having to take up taxpayer dollars to do that. So it's that kind of trade-off that we've been engaged with. There's also, in terms of ongoing revenue to the NIA, this profit share that you've heard about. It's a nebulous concept, and I'm not going to try to sugarcoat that, because clearly, as Javier put it, 100% of nothing is nothing. But these developers have said, listen, if we don't make a profit, then everybody is in trouble, because it is in our interest to make a profit on this. That we have our models, and we feel that this project is going to be very profitable. Now, if that happens, then the NIA is guaranteed 20%. 10% by way of direct revenue, and that is in perpetuity, and 10% which goes to a sovereign wealth fund. And in addition, they have now proposed this 5% to the people of Nevis. I'm not sure how they're going to do that yet. The question was asked. The technology has not yet been developed, or we have not yet been advised of it. So in terms of ongoing, we have the hard 50 million, we have the 20% profit, and then we have, in terms of government revenue, that is what we anticipate. And then we're looking at the overall rise in the local economy, and then, as I said, the port development and the hospital development. So broadly speaking, those are the areas of potential revenue benefit for the people of Nevis.
If I could add, I just wanted to mention something with regards to what Pastor Maynard said as well. I know you spoke about the access, and you also spoke about the administration putting in the infrastructure. We have to bear in mind as well that all of the lands over there are private lands. And if the government were to go in and put in infrastructure, the government will have to negotiate with the landowners. They'll have to purchase or compulsorily acquire the land. Of course, even when we are doing village roads, widening village roads or the public main road, you have to negotiate with the landowners. So it's not that simple that the government can just go in and put in infrastructure on private property. So we have to bear that in mind as well. And of course the cost as well. And I just wanted to quickly respond to the gentleman with regards to the water. He raised some important issues with regards to water and climate change and so on. We have to bear in mind that this is a sustainability zone, and the Act prescribes that they must be able to provide their own water. Right? The Act prescribes that in Section 5. And what we also have to bear in mind as well, that they have decided as to how they're going to be providing their water. We know that during the rainy season, we have a tremendous amount of water that goes into the sea, a lot of water waste. And over in the South Coast area, there are a lot of very deep guts that take a lot of water down into the sea. And they are planning to trap most of that water and be able to utilize that water in the zone. And so we recognize the issue with regards to the water, but they have a solution with regards to providing their own water by doing the trapping.
Doctor?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I had the first question before Dr. Daly, and I told him, and he smiled and said, "You should have been standing." I don't believe in sexism, but I got my chance. Thank you. I have a question that I am really concerned about, because it's tangentially related to this. But as an international researcher, I am trying hard to understand
You're asking your second question?
I thought it was.
Okay.
Okay, so the hospital project is the wing and the overall development of our healthcare facilities on the island. That is what we are seeking to have completed, and that is why we have decided to partner. Now, just so I explain why this has become important, there was at some point by these developers a suggestion that they would develop their own healthcare facilities inside the zone. And we said to them, rather than doing that, why not partner with us and develop the healthcare facilities in Nevis generally, so that everybody can benefit from those facilities. And so that was how we arrived at that particular position. Thank you very much for the questions. Thank you very much for the questions. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can, we've had important questions asked, if we can try to respond. The issue of disrespect, you indicated that we are coming now. I think that there has been a lot of confusion in the public space. Let me say, please, let me say first of all, the SSZ legislation is one thing. The project that is proposed is something else. We are here talking about the project that is proposed for the island of Nevis. It seems that people keep confusing the two. All the please, can I just explain? It is not the same thing, because an SSZ can be proposed in St. Kitts tomorrow. It can be proposed on 10 acres of land in Nevis tomorrow. The content of that proposal is what I think we ought to be discussing and debating. The NIA, through the Nevis Island Assembly, did not pass SSZ legislation. That was done at the federal level. And all that the SSZ legislation does is it creates a framework. That's all it does. People can apply, and it is then for the government to evaluate each application from each developer to determine whether or not that application meets the requirements and whether or not the people and the government want that particular development. I think that people are saying the SSZ is bad because they hear of a big project that's happening in Nevis, and they're saying that because of that big project, the SSZ is bad. I want people to recognize that if that project never happens, the SSZ still remains. And the SSZ may be used for any other purpose. Somebody asked earlier about another proposal. One of the things we've seen is some people saying they would like to create a tech park, but they want it to be done by way of an SSZ. So the reality is that I want people to move away from this notion. The other thing that I want to say on that, I have been in the Parliament of St. Kitts and Nevis now for almost 20 years. And in my 20 years, we have debated hundreds of pieces of legislation. I have never seen one go to town hall before it goes to the Parliament. It has never happened. And so while I hear the, please, can I say, we're having a town hall now, again, not to talk about the legislation, but to talk about the project that has been proposed. I am not understanding why that is such a difficult concept for us to grasp. The project that is proposed is what we are talking about. Do we want this project that is proposed on the South Coast? That is what we are talking about, right? So that's where we are. So it sounds to my ear that the eyes have it. That's what it sounds like. The eyes have it. So this is the discussion that we're having on this occasion. So I just want to make that clear. Now, in relation to what's the other question?
Quiet, please. Quiet. Quiet, please.
Yeah. The language you used was a vast number of persons are speaking out against the project. And again, I would only admonish you to speak for you, because I don't know who the vast number of persons are. I, 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 if I can finish, the people who make the most noise aren't necessarily the vast number. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of people who, because they're not noisy, don't suggest that they don't have an opinion of their own, and don't suggest that they don't have their own views. They may not be as loud as others may be, but please, I am just here to make it clear that sometimes when we shout hard enough, we start to feel like we're the only voice because we're only listening to ourselves. As the Premier of Nevis, my job is to listen to everybody. So I listen to those who shout the loudest, and I also listen to those who have a quiet conversation because they're not the shouting type. So if you're going to tell me that there's a vast number, I'm not sure how you're measuring vast. All I'm saying is, let us speak for ourselves. Let us share our opinions respectfully, but don't speak. Vote against you. Let us always be careful when we try to speak for the public. That's all I'm saying. Speak for you. Say that you are against something or you're for something. That is your right. But leave other people the same right.
And then the federal government, then we're kind of all left in the air wondering what will be inside of it. So while we're here discussing the Destiny proposal and all the things that they're saying, my question is, for that, are these specific items that were listed before, like the 5% and all of these different things, are they going to be built into the development agreement? And secondly, will there be developmental milestones in that development agreement? For instance, Destiny is proposing to provide homes for thousands of people. They have to provide their own electricity and water and such things like that. All of this can't happen overnight. So is it that the infrastructure, like their roads, hospitals, and all of those different things are going to come before those other things? Will that be shared with us? Will we know about that? So that way, the public understand you know, how long and the real impact of this agreement over time, because the revenue that, you know, we are saying will be generated and the jobs and all of that, if you're going to be providing for tens and thousands of people, I'm sure you're going to have supermarkets and all of those things inside. So is the spillover really coming outside, or will all of those things kind of be built inside of it? If you can give some comments on that. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Yes.
Can I try to answer very quickly? One of the things that we understand is that you talk about supermarkets, that's where you ended, but whatever the business might be. We have been very clear that local business people must also have opportunities inside the zone. So if Rams or Value Mart or yourself decide, I want to set up a business, then you should be free to set up inside the zone as well. So I just wanted to say that. Development milestones, absolutely. Again, as I said, we have learned some very harsh lessons from unfinished projects all across St. Kitts and Nevis. We see them. And so, yes, there are development milestones with penalties. So that if they don't meet these milestones, there are penalties that apply at every step of the way. And the question of commitments, financial commitments, also yes. So all of these are what would form part of the development agreement, which has to go to Parliament and therefore has to be made public. So there's no question, Mr. Hamilton, of, as you say, people not knowing or you not knowing until whatever time. This must go through the parliamentary process. And just so people understand, that a zone can only happen if there is a development agreement. That development agreement, if the zone is in Nevis, and this is what the law provides, if the zone is in Nevis, the NIA cabinet has to say, yes, we want it. If we say, yes, we want it, it then goes over to St. Kitts. Their cabinet must say, yes, we want it. If that is the case, it comes to Nevis, we must go into the Nevis Island Assembly, our parliament, local parliament, and we must say, aye, we want it. And then it must go back to St. Kitts to the national parliament for them again to say, aye, we want it. What I mean by that is, where we are right now is at the very beginning stage of this process, because we don't even yet have an agreement. So that agreement has to be concluded, and then it has to go through those steps. It is only when it is passed through the parliament, then there's a publication. And when that publication happens, that's when the zone is created. So there is no issue here of somebody waking up one morning and finding that a zone has been created. That is simply not possible. So these discussions that we're having, again, is really to assist us as the cabinet to better inform ourselves. And I will tell you that from these discussions, we have had a tremendous level of input that we have then been able to take back to the cabinet and to take back to our own discussions with developers and say, hey, this idea or that idea needs to be addressed. And so that is really why we are having these consultations, to better inform ourselves.
Okay, who has the mic? Okay. All right, yes, Mr. Cornelius.
Yes, good night, everyone. My name is Devon Cornelius, and I want to go back to the presentation from Mr. Olivier Hansen's, where in that presentation it was mentioned that support will be given to the Nevis's geothermal development. So I don't know if you could clarify that, because the question I have to follow with that is, I was reading an article earlier today dated February 7, 2025, which came from the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, and it was the Prime Minister announcing that the government of St. Kitts and Nevis had secure full financing for the development of geothermal in St. Kitts and Nevis. So I don't know if I am misunderstanding that article and what was announced here tonight, so perhaps a member of the panel could provide clarity on that. But if I may go back a bit quickly, in July of 2025, Mr. Premier, you stated that you had only received an initial, and I want to go back to the timeline, you had only received an initial approach from developers interested in the South Coast area. and that there was no formal proposal at that time. So clarify for us whether the Destiny project now being promoted is the same project you referred to in July. And given that the SSZ Act was passed on August 11, 2025, and the developers are already publicly presenting detailed plans, including offers of employment, infrastructure development, scholarships, something that looks like dividends. When exactly did the government engage, or when did government engagement with these developers move from an informal discussion in July to us being here and seeing all of this? Because July, what's today's date? 27th of October? That's a very short timeline to squeeze everything into that. So I'm just trying to get a clear understanding of the timeline. So if you could provide exact dates, explain in detail the dates, when you move from informal to formal, and all of that. Because what I find a bit concerning is, you did mention that the agreement was not signed. But how are you offering jobs and all of these different things? So perhaps you could clarify that, please. Thank you.
So, Mr. Cornelius, is a simple matter, and I'll hand over things to Mr. Brand shortly. But I don't understand what is so mysterious about me coming in to say I want to do a development. This is what I'm proposing to do. And if you have a business, you want to offer your services, or you're looking for a job, send me your details. What is so alien or strange about that? If I'm going to be building a house, well, I have my plans that are being finalized. Am I not already talking to contractors? Am I not already having conversations with people to say, listen, if planning were to approve my plans, then I want to move forward? So I'm just not understanding. People are looking for a conspiracy of some kind, and they're trying to manufacture it wherever they can find it. No, you ask your question, let me try to answer you. So the reality is that if people are saying, we have a project, this is the project we want to do, and we're inviting people who may be interested to get involved by sending us their information. What is wrong with that? Now, this question keeps coming up about when the government knew and what is the timeline. Now, I can't tell you, Mr. Cornelius, because I didn't come here tonight with a diary to say at 9 a.m. on such and such a day, I received this proposal. What I can say to you is that as a government, we have operated in a particular manner. And that manner is open and it's transparent. And if we're asked questions, please, can I finish? If we're asked questions about a project, a question was asked just tonight. Have you received some other indications about SSZ? My answer is yes. But if I'm not in a position because I don't have something concrete in front of me, what exactly am I expected to say to you? So,
can you give that assurance that you will get that information, because you said you don't have the
but I'm asking what assurance you want. You want to know what day we received an application? Is that what you want?
Right. So
and why do you want to know what day we received the application? What's the relevance of it?
So you just
I'm just curious. I'm just asking.
You just mentioned, yes, right, that you don't have anything concrete in front of you. You even made reference to a diary, right? So even if you don't have that information tonight,
yes,
are you saying you don't have the information?
No, I'm not saying that.
All?
I've asked something different.
Okay.
What's the relevance of when the application was received insofar as you're concerned?
We want to.
You want to know.
I want to understand the timeline of events.
Okay.
So that's what I want to understand.
So Mr. Cornelius,
because then it will give me a better understanding of the.
That's what you're looking for, some understanding. Okay, we'll try and provide you some understanding of the timeline of events.
Mr. Cornelius, if I may take the other question as it relates to the geothermal matter. The geothermal project is basically split in two phases. The first phase has to do with the drilling and the exploration of the wells. We have gone through an exercise where we would have had, I believe it was 5 or 6 of the largest drillers in the world participating in that process. That process, I believe, will come to an end very shortly, and the selection will be made as to who the driller will be to explore those wells. The Prime Minister is accurate when he said that he has the financing in place for that phase of the project. I believe we got $15 or $17 million from the Caribbean Development Bank. I believe also we have, it was $20 million from the Saudi fund. And we have some from, I believe, is the IDB or one of those. So the funding is available. The Green Climate Fund. The idea is that there has to do the exploration phase first in terms of what exactly they will be getting from the wells to design the actual plan. That phase of the project is not yet designed or conceptualized yet. They needed data from the drilling for that to take place. So I don't think that there is any attempt to mislead anybody when someone said that they would be trying to give assistance to the geothermal project. There is a second phase, and once the data is available, then that phase would need, of course, significant financing.
All right. Yes, young lady in white. Dr. Nesbitt, sorry.
Good evening to the distinguished panel and to my fellow Nevis people. So I just have one plea and 2 questions. The plea is, can we please have several town hall meetings on the SSG legislation as well as the Destiny project in a larger space, please? My first question, what is your process for quantifying opposition to the bill and the proposed project? And what do you have to say to empower those people that want to speak out about this, but are too afraid of being labeled anti-CCM or pro-NRP or anti-government, or even being retaliated against just for voicing their opinions on such a bill? My second question is about immigration. So I think there are 14,000 jobs, and you have done such a spectacular job at the unemployment rate that we have here in Nevis. It's very low. So is there a plan or a suggestion or a proposal for where the people will come from to work in this zone? So are you going to be immigrating people? Is there a plan for immigration from elsewhere? Because I think the 10,000 is residential, and so there will need to be a population to service these people, and where will they come from? Thank you.
Yes, go right ahead, please. Dr. Nesbitt, thank you very much. The question of additional meetings is something that we would have to look at. What I will say to you is that we had approached these meetings in a particular way, which was to have focused stakeholder meetings and also to have a general town hall meeting. Clearly, we needed a bigger room. I said that at the outset. You asked about people expressing their opinions and what do we do to gauge. The truth is, other than polling, there's really little that we can do to gauge. I made the comment earlier about some people who are very loud in terms of their opinion. There are other people who are not so loud and are rather quiet in terms of their opinion, or they don't say what their opinion is at all. Now, you say that some may be concerned about getting labeled, or can I use the word victimize? Victimized because of their opinions. Victimization and CCM don't go in the same sentence. So let me just make that clear. All right? Some of the harshest critics of this government are working in government, and nobody has troubled them. Right? So this idea that people can't say their views or whatever, I just think that's alien to the Nevis that we have tried to create. The issue of immigration, I think, is a fundamentally important issue. Now, I want to answer it this way. we anticipate, yes, that people must come in to work, because it's obvious that the local population will not be able to sustain the number of jobs that we're talking about. But we're saying, one, people of Nevis and people of St. Kitts must get priority. So we have the entire federation. We have, I just asked Minister Lai when he passed me a note to say that on average, we have about 215 to 220 young people come out of school every year as graduates. We have, if I can use you, Dr. Nisbet, somebody like yourself, bright, capable, Nivision. I want you home. How do I get you to be home? We must provide opportunities for people like you so that you have the opportunity to be home. Every year, we educate scores of young people, and most of them choose to stay abroad. Not because, in my opinion, they don't love Nevis, but many times because of their training, the opportunities for them are simply not available. Let me give you an example. One of my very dear friends is a neurosurgeon, young fellow from Rice's in Gingerland, for those of you who don't know where Rice's is. Went to school, bright. He got brain here in UZ. Nivision. Where is he living? He's living in Jamaica. He went to study, decided to live there. I once had a conversation with him and said, why are you not coming home? And he said, as a neurosurgeon, how many cases would he see with our population in a given year? The reality is that some of our best and brightest have been forced to be abroad. And it is not good enough for me that we continue to export people. I looked recently at the census numbers for St. Kitts and Nevis. The census is done normally every 10 years. It was delayed because of COVID. And you may not accept it, but if you don't accept it, go and check for yourself. That this census says that Nevis has about 13,500 people. St. Kitts has about 38,000. The total population of St. Kitts and Nevis is just over 51,000. But what I found was instructive is that it is the first time since 1960, that our population got to 50,000. In fact, in some of the censuses that were done during that period, our population dropped to as low as 34,000. It means, therefore, that our main export from this country since 1960 and perhaps before has been people. So how do we get our people to come home? How do we get the second and third generation of Nevisians who are in Canada, who are in New York, who are in London to come home, unless we can provide opportunity at home for them? How do we get our people to understand that when I go off to study, if I want to stay abroad, I can, but I don't have to, because there is sufficient opportunity here in Nevis for me. And the only way we can do that is to expand our economy and create opportunity. I heard something said recently, and I've adopted it now as my own. If we continue to do the same things, we will get the same results that we always got. And that is the reality. So it is for us as a people to determine where we want to go. So the other point about immigration and population is that currently, St. Kitts and Nevis is already part of the free movement of people within the OECS. So if you're from Dominica, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and you hear there's a job here, you can pack up tomorrow and move, because that is the right that you have of free movement now within the OECS. I emphasize the OECS. In the wider CARICOM, there's also free movement, but it is more limited. So it is only certain skill sets and people with what is called a skills certificate who can move within the wider CARICOM. I say that to say, therefore, that when job opportunities are created in St. Kitts and Nevis, it is no longer just Kittitians and Nevisians here. It is also Kittitians and Nevisians abroad. It is also OECS nationals who have the same rights as we do. And it is also CARICOM nationals, depending on the nature of the job. So we have a lot of options insofar as jobs are concerned that currently exist. And I'm not yet moving outside the region. I'm just talking about our own people, our OECS people, and our wider CARICOM people. So I hope that helps to answer the question.
Herbert? The lady there in front of Honorable Latoya Jones has her hand up for quite some time now. Oh, yes. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Hansel Manners. And I'm happy for this opportunity to raise issues, to ask questions. I shall not be commenting on the pros and cons of the project this evening. Most people this evening have done just that. There's a worrying lack of transparency surrounding this project, and therefore I would like to raise an issue of governance, an aspect which can have a significant impact on decision-making in relation to the project. Indeed, lack of attention to proper governance can derail any project and cause serious collateral damage to those caught in the middle, like us, the people of Nevis, and indeed of the entire Federation. In this regard, I wish to respectfully raise an issue which so far as I know has not been questioned directly and has been addressed only speculatively on social media, but nonetheless is an important component of the mass of information we have to contend with in trying to analyze and understand the project, this project we are discussing, and a matter we need to clear the air on, and indeed, the public needs to know the answer to as we try to understand the project. I have three or four questions following, all related. So if you permit me...
Just two questions, please. Two questions, please. There are others who have their hand up and we're running out of time.
Okay,
Yeah, quickly, please, quickly.
My question is to the Honorable Premier, respectfully raised. Has the firm that bears your name, Brantley and Associates, been retained or employed in any way by the developer of this project? Several people have already expressed concern over the issue of conflict of interest. And indeed, one commentator in a public commentary has speculated that your firm is providing legal services to the developer in respect of local land transfers at the project, that is. As a matter of public interest, can you confirm or deny this? That's my first question.
As a matter of public interest, Mr. Manners,
yes.
The firm that bears my name is the law firm of Daniel Brantley. It has had no involvement with this project whatsoever. It has represented no one in relation to this project. In fact, what I would say to you is that as far as I'm aware, a firm called Denton's is the firm that represents this particular project. And thus far, I believe there's a young lawyer, Whitaker Claxton Associates, which is the lawyer who did the corporate work for this project. And so despite the commentaries that you have seen, I've also seen commentaries saying that I've been involved in all kinds of things. But I want to make that pellucid, that Daniel Brantley has not been involved. If Daniel Brantley were to get involved, then I would be more than happy to come back and tell you that as well.
Much for clearing the air. And I'm glad you mentioned that you've heard it.
One further question, please, just one additional question.
No, I'm not asking any more questions. I'm
Okay.
just saying it's great that this question was raised so you could clear the air. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Simon Lowe, I think someone, oh, that's him.
Hello. Good evening. My question is one question, and that is this. I think most people on the island would welcome the development, but my question is, what is the necessity for the SSZ? And my question goes to Madam Lewis as the legal representative of the Cabinet. It is well known that previous developments, including the one that I propose to do on the south side, but let us refer to the Four Seasons in particular, received concession agreements from the government covering taxation and a whole host of other issues. So why could this development not have the same kind of agreement, which is totally under the control of the NIA, and didn't need any kind of federal involvement? And if that is not the case, can you please clarify for everybody what the difference is between the normal kind of concession agreements given to developers and what additional concessions you are giving or being asked to give for this particular development project? Thank you.
Good evening. Are you hearing me? No. Okay. Hello. Can you hear me? Right. Good. With respect to concessions, concessions are the subject of the development agreement and will be discussed in there. The SSZ Act does not address concessions. The necessity for the Act relates to the intention of the federal parliament that such matters, because they will involve or could possibly involve matters of national federal responsibility, such as taxation, such as citizenship, such as land ownership, it was thought that that would be the appropriate place for those matters to be raised. And it is the federal parliament who took it under their consideration to issue and introduce the legislation. I don't know whether the Premier, as a member of the federal parliament, would like to say more about that.
A lowly member. Mr. Lowe, you asked a question that I think many have asked, which is essentially, why just not do this as an ordinary development? I think the answer is really that this is intended to be a special zone. And special zones all around the world are done through special legislation. You know, we have had a lot of debate in Nevis, which some people are upset that we're having debate. I'm actually happy because it shows the strength of our democracy. But the debate that we're having in Nevis really is reflective sometimes of an absence of an appreciation that these zones have been existing all around the world. We've never had one in Nevis. But in Jamaica had zones since the 1960s. The DIFC is a very famous zone in Dubai where that exists. So for us, really, it is something new. I think that no zone can be created absent special legislation to allow it to be created. So that's the first answer in terms of the SSC. I think why we are having this debate about this particular zone is because this is trying to do something new. It's trying to do something different. It's trying to go beyond what other zones have done in terms of what it's seeking to create. And so I think that that is where perhaps the debate, one, that is new to us. It's not new, but it's new to us. And two, the extent to which this zone is seeking to establish. So it is really a situation where one cannot ever establish a special zone. In other countries, they say SEZ, Special Economic Zone, absent the relevant legislative framework to allow it to happen. Put differently, I could not, by way of agreement with you, sir, create a special economic zone without Four Seasons or at any development that you wanted to do. Right? To do that, you need special legislation to do it. And it is not something that is particularly rare. In fact, I was looking at something recently where the short-lived Prime Minister in the UK, Rishi Sunak, he was Prime Minister, I think. I hope I'm right on that. But a colleague of mine in London sent me where he announced that he was doing, I think, 7 such zones in the UK to do exactly what we are trying to do, to spur development. A point that perhaps I should have made at the outset that I did not make is that we have to consider that for a very long time this country has been heavily dependent on citizenship by investment money. That has been the goose that has been laying that golden egg. We're now in a situation where all across the region that CBI money is drying up, and St. Kitts Nevis is no different. So the question that we have to ask ourselves really is, what then do we do? Do we try to raise taxes on an existing population which is already taxed? Do we find new avenues for revenue? What do we do? We have no gold as far as I know. We have no oil as far as I know. But we have a need as an island to develop and to grow. So absent financial flows that are non-tax revenue, like CBI, what do we do in terms of our development and in terms of maintaining the standard of living to which we all have grown accustomed? So all of these are important considerations as we try to figure out, and the SSD legislation was really designed to provide another alternative, an option for us to diversify the local economy.
If these developers have approached you and wish to develop, that's great. My question is, why do we need an SSZ? They can develop exactly everything that's been presented here without any kind of legislation, because it's within the NIA jurisdiction to grant them all the concessions that we've heard about tonight in terms of taxation, in terms of labor employment and law and so on. So I still don't understand, and I think a lot of people don't really grasp why, what are the extra conditions that we are not aware of, or the extra demands that they are seeking that would not be covered through a normal development contract.
But if that's the question for us, then I'm asking you similarly, how is it that the UK has all of these zones? How is it that the US has all of these zones? How that Jamaica has its zone? They all come through special legislation. So we can argue about the modality of development all we want. The bottom line is that the SSC was designed to create another avenue for development. Some may use it, some may not, but it's making that avenue available for those developers who say, I would prefer to do a development within a zone which is a special zone. So it is not to say that what you're suggesting, if another Four Seasons wants to come, we welcome them. But if a developer comes and say, I want to do a Four Seasons-like development, but I want it in a special zone, all the SSC does is creates the framework to allow that to happen. So it's a matter of choice. That's what it comes down to. And as a government, we have provided the options for developers to come and to talk to us.
Presumably, it's a precondition of theirs that they will not come and do any development on this island unless it's within an SSZ. Is that the case?
This developer wants to have an SSZ.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, next question. Excuse me, yes.
Good night,
Gene.
everyone.
Okay.
My name is Gene Libert. I'm not going to call this no special economic zone. This is a libertarian settlement, and that's it. My questions tonight are directed to Minister Nisbet and Minister Evelyn. Minister Nisbet, we have a health problem facing us right now in this country in relation to a landfill that we have on the southern side. I want to know the lifespan on that landfill, better terminology, that dump that we have. Its lifespan has already expired. Where will the next landfill be established? Because the southern side, for most of us, is the most obvious choice. The second question goes to Mr. Evelyn. Mr. Evelyn, the southern side has always been an area for livestock farming. My father raised animals there. The premier father raised animals there. Mr. Liebert family raised animals there. Why hasn't the NIA seek to buy some of those said lands which you all want to now put into a libertarian settlement for vegetable farmers, livestock farmers, and housing, because you are taking a housing project over there. So why is it at the kind of prices, 67 cents per square foot, 91 cents per square foot, why hasn't the government tried to secure some of those said lands for the people of Nevis?
Thank you.
Good evening. Um, in relation to the dump site for the solid waste management, I'm going to make the connection between that and the SSZ because that's what we're here to discuss, and so I assume there's a connection to be made. The lifespan at the dump is obviously, it's at its capacity, and our strategy to manage that has been to incorporate things such as recycling. So it's not to just create a new dump site, we have to learn how to manage the waste that we currently have. So we've expanded our recycling projects from bottles to aluminum. We're now working on a scrap metal project where we're actively baling those vehicles and then exporting them out of the island. So our approach is not to just find a new place to dump trash, but to reduce the amount of trash that we're generating as a people. Now, if you want to connect that to this particular project, we have, while we were discussing this project, I, of course, would have indicated the need for solid waste management to be independent because we do not need any additional waste in our dump that's already at capacity. So what they have confirmed is that 80% of their waste will be recyclable. That's what they've committed to. And that was not good enough for me, so I queried more. What of the additional 20%? And they have committed that they will work on exporting out of the island.
All right, good evening once again, everyone. Mr. Liebert, you mentioned that over there previously was used for livestock production. I'm sure you would recognize that there's absolutely no livestock production that takes place over there at this point, none. At least not to my knowledge and not to my department's knowledge, right? You also mentioned that you believe or you think that the department, or I'm sorry, the government should purchase some land from those areas, whether for housing, for livestock production, for crop production. Mr. Liebert, I don't think you recognize how expensive land is for the government to purchase. Of course, we are in a cabinet, and Minister Brand is here. He can tell you how much we had to go through to purchase land for us to provide housing in Charlestown. As the minister with responsibility for lands, I can tell you as well that it is a burden when we have to purchase land from private individuals, whether it's for housing or for livestock or for crop production. The administration do not have the resources to purchase those large tracts of land. So, Mr. Liebert, I would suggest to you that if you can help us find the money, we'll be happy to purchase some of those lands. But the government does not have the resources to purchase those large tracts of land, sir.
All right, so we'll have a question from, I think it's Ms. Keynes at the back there, in white. And then the officer over here next to Dr. Daly. Yes, and all right, the gentleman there next to Dr. Daly.
Good evening, everyone.
For some time now.
Sorry, good evening, everyone. My name is J.D. Keynes, and I have my contribution. So my first question, in the video played earlier, perhaps almost at the start of tonight's town hall featuring Olivier Jensen, it was noted that persons who do not wish to outright sell their lands have the option to swap lands, and that can be pursued, that can be implemented In other words, well, I understood it to mean that they can get lands in other parts of the island. Now, considering his comment, and even taking into consideration the Premier's comment earlier that persons within the zone cannot purchase land outside the zone, I am curious to know where else does the proposed developers have lands on Nevis. So that's my first question. Just for clarity, he said in his video that you can swap the lands and they can facilitate it. Okay, so I'm just curious to know where else he has lands so that that can be facilitated. All right, and then my second question, because I'm, obeying Mr. Daniel's guideline, it has to do with due diligence. Now, I think most of us in here at some point or other has heard that term. Everything you do now asks about due diligence checks. Even to open a bank account, you have to do due diligence checks. And so I became a bit concerned when I heard a comment earlier, so I just want clarification on that. So basically, due diligence has something to do with checking the person or the business, the entity, seeing the background, all of that kind of thing, putting it in simple terms. So considering Minister Leibert's comment earlier, what is the level of due diligence that has been done on the proposed developers? I know he said that, of course, they wouldn't know everything. So because they don't know everything, I'm curious to know, what do we know? What level of due diligence has been done? Who has facilitated that? And is it subject to further screening? Thank you so much.
All right, can I take a stab at this? Thank you very much for the question. And the question of due diligence, is, I want the public to know that this is not something new for this government. The island of Nevis is a very well-established financial services jurisdiction, where we have international banks, we have trust companies. Under all of the regional and international requirements, we have to do due diligence before we can even license any of these. So we have agencies that we use. Due diligence usually is done to determine if they are what they call adverse results. Adverse results means that you're criminal, you are involved in some nefarious or criminal activity, you have been charged, you've been convicted, you're involved in fraud or things of that nature. That is what due diligence would normally show up. We have had, I think, going back to the question that was posed initially about Mr. Jensen being a libertarian, and it seems that some are equating that with some type of criminality or something that is adverse. I would shudder to think, if I were to take a poll in this room right now and ask people what they believe in. Some of you may not believe in God. Some may worship the devil. What is the conclusion from that? That the government, therefore, if you bring a proposal and that proposal makes sense economically, fiscally, financially, that we ought to tell you, we don't agree with you because you have some beliefs? Some of us are opposed to LGBTQ rights. What if the person is a proponent of that? You see, people are asking us as a government to start to delve into people's beliefs and what they think and what they don't think. I am saying, as a government, our job is to look at the proposal that is in front of us. That is our job. Right now we have a billionaire who owns Four Seasons. Any of you know what Bill Gates believes? Did anybody ever ask him? So the reality that we have is that it's almost as if people are now creating these new ideas of due diligence to say that if somebody says something or believes something, that somehow that bars them. And we are saying that due diligence in the ordinary course speaks to conduct that is criminal, conduct that is adverse in those circumstances. Not to whether somebody is Muslim or Hindu, not to whether they share our beliefs, but rather, when we as a government get a proposal, we must look at the proposal. And I have not seen any libertarian proposal come to this government. That has been something that other people are saying. We have not had that proposal. So I just want to make that very clear. And Mr. Brand is reminding me that the gentleman has been a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis for nearly a decade. So to attain citizenship, again, you would have had to go through a due diligence checks. In fact, the public may not know, but all citizenship applications now have to go through impacts, they call it in Barbados. And impacts is informed by the United States, United Kingdom, EU, and Canada. So anybody who has our citizenship has to have been run through that, those agencies as well to ensure that there are no adverse findings. So I don't know what other due diligence the government must do or has been asked to do, because I shudder to think what would happen if we started due diligence on everybody in this room. I'm pretty sure we'll have adverse findings on different people. And so what would be the answer to that? If there's an adverse finding, we don't do business? I don't think that that is the answer. If you're a criminal, if you're involved in fraud or other criminal activity, then absolutely we can't do business. But if you're doing something that I don't necessarily agree with, I find morally reprehensible, for example, that is not a basis for government to say that we are not going to engage with you, because you have not crossed any line in terms of criminality. In relation to the land swaps, my understanding is that what these developers have sought to do is to acquire options on lands elsewhere in Nevis. And to say to people, therefore, that if your lands are located in the area that they wish to acquire, and you do not want to sell your lands because you just want to continue to hold on to land somewhere, then they're saying, well, would you be willing to take additional land someplace else on the island? So put differently, they will buy land someplace else on the island and transfer that land to you in exchange for your lands, which are on the south side of Nevis. And my understanding is they're doing that at a rate of 1 to 1.5. So if you have 10 acres, you'll get 15 acres someplace else on Nevis. That is the proposal as I understand it. Any other questions?
We have, folks, we are winding down. We are what? 5 minutes to 10. We'll have the two final questions, the officer and then the gentleman here. Right. Oh.
Good evening. I'm Livingstone Williams. I'm a landowner. My family owns land in the same designation. I have a problem with when Mr. Brantley tries to lowball and dismiss the lands over on the southeast, saying that they have not contributed anything to the economy of Nevis. Well, I pay thousands of dollars every year for land tax. I have never got the road done. I've had to maintain it myself for my business. And Mr. Evelyn has said that there's no livestock over there. Well, livestock, Mr. Brantley, let me go back to him, says for the last 100 years, nothing has happened over there. That is totally false. Because from as far as Saddle Hill, Roland Archibald had St. George's Farm. There was a man named Ratty Esdale and his brother Harry, who had Winter Forest and Harry Saunders. When you come back over to Whitehall, Sunder Liebert, and Troy knows about this because it's over there I met him, they ran animals there too. When you come back to Coxeat, Dr. Huggins used to run animals there. When you come back to Bush Hill, Bellot. A lot of people won't know Bellot, but Bellot used to run animals there. Richmond Lodge Estate. Not only does it have animals, it has 2 farms. One of the farmers for 2 years was the #1 farmer in Nevis. And I have a quarry at the bottom. When you go across, there's Samson, Burke Liebert ran animals, and I'm talking about people who had hundreds, if not thousands of head. Right?
Okay.
When you come back over again to Bath, the challengers, Seaton, Miss Huggins, all of them had hundreds of heads of animals. You are talking about food security. That over there, that region there was and still is the bastion of animal husbandry. The amount of animals which are produced over there to this day, Pembroke, Colin, Carl Claxton, Brady, endless animals. So I don't understand how you want to disparage the land, lowball the price of the land, and say that it does not contribute anything to Nevis. We've paid land tax for years and got zero. That is a contribution to the economy of Nevis. The people who have approached me since last year about buying lands want to come with a ridiculous deal about 1%, and then they're going to pay me in 3 or 4 years' time. Right? What kind of deal is that? I asked them, are they crazy? How do they expect to come to somebody and want to put that deal? I've done deals all my life. I would be mad to try to tell somebody 1% and the rest of the money in years to come, and you don't even know. Right?
Yeah.
So
make it quick, please. We're moving ahead quickly.
Okay.
We're going to 10.
All right. Okay.
Please move on.
Right? And they refuse categorically to do any leasing or partnership. Right? Now, why don't they want to do that? Why? And they want to make demands. If you say, well, I'll sell you a piece, they say no, under no circumstances. They want all. They came to me with all my family's lands and said they want all. So I say, so where the hell are we going to live then?
Mr. Williams, a question, please.
Yes.
I know we can go on with the editorial, but please.
Well,
question. We have the police officer, and we are running out of time.
Yes.
Quickly, please.
So then, as I say,
Finally.
I want to ask, I asked him already, Mr. Brantley,
Yes.
why is he always downgrading? Whenever he talks about the lands are no good. Well, if they're no good, why do they want them? They're no good for farming, they're no good for nothing. Well, how come all these animals have been raised on those same lands and the people have paid rent? These are not just lands.
All right, Mr. Williams,
The
point
people have
taken.
paid rent.
Thank you. Now, the police officer quickly, and then the Premier will answer both questions.
Good night, everyone. My name is Bentley Bissett, and I'm sorry that we do not have any more time. I hope that this will not be the last town hall meeting. Reason be it, in the spirit of transparency, and this has been said multiple times tonight, and being that this is the first of its kind in the Caribbean, why not make the proposed agreement public before ratifying in the House? I believe we have said that tonight is a debate. Persons can give their input, but if we do not have the information, if I do not have the information, I cannot make any informed decision or input or contribution, and that's the key word tonight, contribution. So if the information is being dripped, because look, I have about 15 questions, and tonight, this session has given me more questions than answers, and I'm limited to 2. So I decided to ask that, okay? And the next question is, based on seeing that we cannot have a referendum or anything, and the impression I am getting tonight is that this discussion here, I'm not sure if it will change much in terms of the decision that the government is taking with this Destiny project. So, if my other question then is, will there be an early election before signing the agreement and ratifying it in Parliament? Because it was said that the developer agreement is going to be made public during the Parliament. But my train of thought or reasoning is, why wait till it goes to Parliament or to the House, where only a few is going to debate it, and then it is made public after the fact? So why not, seeing that this is such something monumental, bring it forward, let us all look at it, have meaningful discussion, inputs, and say, no, we agree with this part, we don't agree, and we tell the developers, deal or no deal. Okay? And I am in support of development, but not any wash your foot and come sort of development, or any development that is under deception. No, we want transparency. Thank you.
All right.
Miss Officer Bissett, let me, please, can we try to respond? Officer Bissett, I heard your question, but perhaps in terms of the parliamentary process, a bill does not just show up in Parliament for debate. That's not the way the parliamentary process works. A bill goes, the normal process is it has a first reading, the Parliament then adjourns, that bill then becomes a matter of public record. The bill then comes back, usually at some other occasion, weeks later, for what is referred to as a second and third reading. That's when the bill becomes law. So I don't want you to leave with the impression that somehow we're going to show up in Parliament, debate a bill, and the bill is passed into law. That is not the way legislation works, particularly legislation of this nature. So I just want to make that clear, that there will absolutely be opportunity for you and everybody else. But in terms of bringing an agreement, we don't think that there's any value in bringing an agreement before we have had the opportunity to negotiate. And that is where we are at this point. What we're hoping is that these meetings will give us information that we can then inform ourselves and assist us in our negotiation. But there's no suggestion, or if there is a suggestion, it's an incorrect suggestion, that a bill is just going to appear in Parliament and passed. And as you suggested in your commentary, that somehow after it's passed is when the public is going to see it. That is not the case. Let me quickly speak to Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, I noted in your commentary about animal, you mentioned a lot of people. Some of those people I remember from my youth, and I'm no longer young. Them gone long time ago. And so you keep saying that this was done and that used to be done. My issue really is, can we say that there is currently that level of animal farming that you described on those lands? And other than the last few names you mentioned, Carl, Colin, and Brady, all of whom I know very well, not one soul else over there is farming. Well, Emmonston is again up, Emmonston is up in Brownhill, right? So all those names you call out, you went from Brownhill all the way to Bath. All of them people are either done gone or them done with farming a long time ago. I hear somebody mention my dad. He's of blessed memory. The reality is that in terms of farming over there, and those who, like yourself, know that area, and I know the area too. I grew up in Brownhill. So for those who know the area, I heard somebody the other day talking about Brownhill Bay. I used to, as a youngster, walk to Brownhill Bay, swim, go to small Budza. I wasn't good enough to reach big Budza. But look how long no fishermen use in Brownhill Bay. There hasn't been fishing being done out of Brownhill Bay now, I would say, for the last 40 years. Right? So we can hold on to nostalgia and say this is what used to be, or we can deal with the reality that is there today. You say I'm devaluing the land. You heard the comment, Mr. Williams, that was made by Mr. Liebert in the back? He said, when you sell the land out there, where are you going to put the dump? That was his comment. So, oh, you didn't hear him? So my point is, my point is, no, here's my point. Here's my point. You're seeking to say that I am devaluing the land. I am just speaking to the reality. There is no road, there is no water, there is no electricity, there is no development in that area. And that is the reality. So I am not sure why you're trying to persuade us that the reality is something different. And harking back to 50 years ago and what used to happen, frankly doesn't tell us what is happening today. All right, so if I said it was 100 years and you prefer 50 years, that's okay. But I'm simply telling you that what you're describing is something that used to happen. It is not something that is happening now. And you can't convince anybody in here that it's happening now because we know the area. You're from Brownhill? You're from the Brownhill, right? So don't, there's no road over there, Mr. Williams, because of the colossal cost that it will cost the government. You say you pay a few $1,000s in land tax. It will cost us, let me finish. You're asking me a question. It will cost us over there well in excess. Mr. Williams, can I just answer you? You asked me a question. You say, why is there, you asked me why is there no road? Okay, so you're not the only one who pays tax. Why there is no road is because of the cost, Mr. Williams. For us to put in infrastructure going into that area, we're talking about road. We had, what do you call it? We had considered an RFP, and the numbers are astronomical. We're not talking about 10 or 15 million dollars. We're talking 40 million and more in terms of that particular infrastructure. We're not yet talking about water. We're not yet talking about electricity. So it is easy for us to say to the government, why you ain't putting a road? Because I have land over there and I pay a couple $1,000s in tax. But that is not the way government expenditure works. It would be impossible for any government, this one or any other government, to find the resources to put in the necessary resources
Mr. Liebert,
into
please.
The South Coast. It really would be impossible. Please. And I'm not just saying that because it is the reality of the situation, right? Why, we considered it. We said we would look at the possibility of putting in a road there, right? But when these developers started to discuss the possibility, we said, well, all right, let's hold. Let's hold on that. Because we aren't sure where we're going to find the money in the first place to put in that level of infrastructure that would be required to open up the south coast of Nevis. And that is just the honest position.
All right. Okay, folks. We are going to give the director of the NHCS a final question because I did promise her. Oh, sorry. Yes, please. Please. Sorry, election? Oh.
Mr. Bissett, you really want an answer to the question? Okay, there will be no, Mr. Bissett, there will be no elections until an election is due. All right? Thank you.
All right, final question, Ms. Robert.
Everyone, I know it's late, so I'm going to ask a quick question. And this is really targeted for Minister Nisbet as my predecessor in this role as director of the NHGS. So in terms of Indian Castle and Whites Bay, as you know, are two significant archaeological sites for Nevis. These beautiful designs that we have behind us would occur directly on top of it, correct? So what is the plan? I know that a version of the SSC did mention some historical protections, but that was later removed. So what is the plan for sites of historical significance in the area?
Thank you.
To my knowledge, the project doesn't stretch to Indian Castle. Can you guys confirm that for me, right? That is accurate. So it doesn't extend to Indian Castle. And yes, I'm your predecessor, and I had an excellent time working at the NHCS. I think at my time there, one of the struggles I had was we always had to advocate protection, but we had to balance that with the need for progress as well. So it can never be a case where every single structure that is 100 years old can never be removed, otherwise we would remain stagnant. So the strategy has always been to evaluate, assess, see the value and see what protective measures can be put into place if it's deemed to have that essential value that needs to remain for the next generation to come.
And if I can quickly add as well, in all of our discussions, we have insisted that if there are any historical sites that are found in the area, they absolutely must be maintained and cannot be destroyed. And ensure access as well to those historical sites. So we must bear that in mind. Any historical sites that are found, access must be provided and they cannot be destroyed.
All right, thank you very much, folks. We are now at the end. It's 10:15. I'm sorry, I don't know if Mr. Premier, anyone want to make any closing remark? Hold on. Oh, Swan. Sorry. Go right ahead quickly, please.
Yeah, good night. There's a very famous senator in Seneca who uses as his motto, I have a PhD in common sense. I may not have what you all have, but I have common sense. We have boasted over the years how many Nevisians are out of Nevis, more than what is in Nevis. Why are we selling so much land and tending to want to sell more? When these people come back home, as they are coming home slowly but surely, what are for them? What are for them? We boast every time more Nevisians out of Nevis than was in Nevis. Why are we selling it and making it an enclave so that they can't go there? I don't think that is a very wise thing that we're doing, and I think we need to change that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I think we've had a good discussion. We have gone back and forth, and we will certainly try to engage further as and when we go. Thank you. Get home safely. God bless you. This is Mark Brantley, Premier of the island of Nevis. We have put together a compilation of various projects done on this island over the last decade and a half. The idea is to showcase all that we've done in terms of our infrastructure, our business development, and the quality of life for our people. We welcome you home. Enjoy Nevis. This is your island. This is your home.
1, 2.